A few years ago, before the plague, I thought it would be fun to reimagine the Disney princesses as their historical selves. Now, if you know me, you know that I'm not much of a princess, so this should be fun. Well, I decided my first ever historical project should be really old. Yep, I chose ancient Greece. So the first project we're going to be doing in this maybe series is Megara. Now, I know Megara is technically not a princess, but in the mythology, she totally is, so I'm going with that. She is the daughter of a dude named King Creon. I hope I'm saying that correctly. So I'm going to use that fact in the mythology for a couple of design choices. Firstly, her age. Now, in the animated movie, I think people like to picture her being kind of in her mid-20s, you know, given her attitude. You good? Her poise and whatnot. In the mythology, she's portrayed more as like a young adult. Either way, she likely never would have been previously married, so that is going to affect things like her hair, for instance. Anyways, that's enough out of me. Let's get right to it.
Tablet weaving. I love doing this, I find it so fun, but I tend to like really repetitive tasks like this. To quickly explain, each card or tablet has sets of holes that correspond to a specific color on a pattern. Each card can be numbered if you like. This is what my current pattern looks like. The color placements are pretty straightforward and the direction of threading switches from S to Z over and over. This isn't always the case, but maybe I'll explain it in some future video. I'm using an inkle loom to do mine because it's compact and I can move it wherever I need. I'm just not using it for its intended kind of weaving. Once I measured my length, accounted for shrinkage, and found the best way to wrap it around, I can thread the card. Next, I like to use a fishing swivel to connect the ends. That way I can untwist my cords as I weave. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about history here. The Greek myth, Age of Heroes, is between 1600 and 1100 BCE, placing Hercules, or Heracles, in and around 1300 BCE. The earliest examples of tablet weaving come up next around 800 to 500 BCE in Europe. The Disney Hercules movie, based on classical Greece aesthetics, places him around 480 to 323 BCE. So this sandwiches our plausibility for tablet weaving between mythology and the animated film. That being said, these bands were created from biodegradable fabrics, so to find evidence this old, it would have to be remarkably preserved. Which means it's highly possible weaving of this style or similar predates our 800 BCE timeline. Now I'm using cotton yarn for my weave, of course, keeping within the Disney Megara color scheme. I don't plan on using my woven band as a belt, at least not this one. This one is going to hide the raw edge of my silk and act as a decorative trim. I'm also preparing some not-so-historical polyester tapes to decorate the hem of my chiton, or chiton. I don't know how it's supposed to be said. Listen, I would rather use stuff I already have in my stash, if possible.
The Doric chiton, or peplos, dates back to around 600 to 323 BCE generously. It's basically a large rectangle fastened at the shoulders, and sometimes it could also be flipped over. I did not flip mine over for the simple fact that silk is expensive, so I bought the bare minimum I could possibly buy to pull this look off. And I also bought silk dupioni. Now, silk dupioni, historically, I believe was kind of frowned upon because it's not well woven, not well spun. You can tell just based on the texture of it, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But I went with this choice because 1, I find it pretty, I like it, and 2, let's just say Megara's always been a little bit more rebellious, you know, she's not too showy, not too gaudy. But in the mythology, since she is the daughter of a king, that can help explain the lilac color. But we can still allow ourselves a little bit of fun.
So let's mark the placements for these tapes. The first edge will be machine sewn since it's faster and doesn't show too much. But the second edge, once ironed flat, will need to be hand sewn. The burgundy is going to be getting a scalloped edge, and I really didn't want to fight this, so I absolutely tack it on there with some fabric glue. And now the second gold tape edge can be hand sewn. See, it would have been a ton of layers to worry about. Now, if there's a second historically inaccurate thing I might be doing, it's the lucid fork. This belongs to the 8th-ish century, but cord is cord. How you make it, to me, doesn't matter all that much. And we know the hems of garments in ancient Greece could have been decorated, but it's so long ago, it's hard to know everything that would have been used for it. And yes, I brought this to a convention in my super cool pockets. So let's use that cord on our hem. It took just under an eternity to mark my wave pattern placements, and now I would like to introduce you to my very improvised hand embroidery station. Well, more like a couching station, since I'm couching the cord onto the fabric. The thread jumps are visible from underneath, but I made sure to keep them very clean and flat. The warm Mediterranean weathers, I'd imagine, wouldn't take too kindly to unnecessary linings and such. Plus, I just didn't want to add any weight to the hem. The fraying edges of the silk were starting to get to me at this point, so I decided to sew some of it up. I just can't sew it all the way up yet, since the scallop part isn't done yet. So that was next. More lucid fork cord, this time in burgundy, to be couch sewn all along the scalloped edges. And to finish the edge off, a gold tube, turned inside out with a cord pulled through, sewn to the edge at each peak. You can see how I tried to keep it really tidy and even underneath, since I knew it could be visible if the hem turned over at any point. But it was just missing something now, and that was beading. And with the beading done, it was time to move on to some very historical resin casting. Listen, I wanted to make a callback to the movie with this Pegasus mold, so I mixed up some coppery bronze colored pigment in the resin, and a little bit of painting to give it more shine, and now it's time for the belt.
Okay, so the belt. I kept finding mixed answers on the belt, so I don't know what is actually correct. But I remember reading that a belt called a zoni? Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Was worn by unmarried women / virgin women. But when I tried to find examples of this particular type of belt, I couldn't really find any concrete answer as to like what kind of shape or materials or any point of reference for it. So I figured, well, let's just make the belt not just a woven band or a rope or something like that. So I decided to make it a little bit thicker. And this is another area in which her age plays a part in the design choices, because given her status, she would have probably been given away to Hercules, a virgin. Anyways, I do need to remake this belt because I chose to make it with some god-awful fashion vinyl, fashion faux leather, and this stuff just peels once it gets like a few years old. It like dries up and peels when you stretch it, and that's exactly what was happening here.
Once cut, I clamped some more tablet weaving I did, this time with a key pattern, to be sewn around the border. You can literally see it lifting and wanting to peel as I was sewing, and I don't know what I was thinking, but that's where our lovely resin casts come in. It's okay, I'll be able to salvage them and the woven bands. And I would like to give a sarcastic round of applause to Past Me for this being the very first shot in which you are shown the draped fabric on some kind of human form. But let's direct our attention to the shoulder closures. I decided to go with buttons. Why? Because I saw this in a TV show I like called Rome, which I realize is 1st century BC. But buttons and way more intricate closures have existed for longer, so this didn't seem too absurd to me. I looked up some archaeological finds too to see if I could find a plausible button design, and I settled on this one.
So you'll see this later, but everything I bought for my jewelry was bronze. But then the plague happened, and between that time I had commissions, other projects, so this Megara got put on the back burner off and on, off and on, off and on. And I guess enough time went by that I had completely forgotten that I had chosen bronze as my metal of choice for this costume, and thought that I had chosen copper. Hence why the resin was tinted copper colored, and why I got copper colored buttons. Now, luckily, everything located on the chiton and the belt is copper, and the jewelry as a separate piece is bronze, so I guess it can be rationalized that way. But if you want to rationalize it that way, you can, but I have just told you the truth, so.
I got to do my very first handmade button loops. I think they turned out great. Again, past me had little to no awareness for transitions into a new piece, or showing you the zoomed out bigger picture here, but this is going to be a himation, or shawl. I went with linen in a grayish blue. Why? I had a reason. I'm not sure I remember it. Yeah, I just checked my notes and found nothing. But hey, that's what I'd purchased back when I did know why. The leftover edges are rolled, pressed, and sewn. And the border, I still had no real plan, so I used leftover lilac cord because I had made a bajillion of it out of fear that I'd run out. Junk figured the rest out though. He said, hey, once you're done doing that, let's couch some golden cord in a key pattern. And I was all like, wow, Junk, that's such a great idea. Until it took just over an eternity. And then I was like, wow, good going, Junk. Looks great though. So, only one big thing left. The hair. Since, of course, I lack enough of my own. I'm going to get ahead of this since I still haven't decided what to do with the hair by sewing up cord and ribbon that'll decorate it.
Now, Megara has a recognizable, dare I say, iconic hairstyle, but I'm going to be changing it. I'm going to keep the bangs in that general shape just as a callback. I don't want the hair to be completely different. But the high pony is going to turn more into a bound, worn down hairstyle. Now, part of this reason is, of course, her youthful unmarried status. I read that women who were unmarried wore their hair down, and sometimes they wore it loose, but it was considered more proper to have it be constrained in some way, so that's what I'm going to be doing. I imagine that wearing it loose might come off as like you're ill or mourning or something like that. I did pull that out of my derriere, so to do with that information what you will. Anyways, I hope you can forgive my transgression with her iconic hairstyle.
My base was a dark brown curly lace front. The bangs were sectioned off, and to get a little bit of volume, crimping and a bit of back combing would do the trick. The spirit of the original bangs hopefully live on in these. By the way, steam is magical with synthetic wigs, and so is hairspray followed by a blow dryer. I am absolutely making this hairstyle up as I go, by the way, so a generous portion of hair from each side was loosely pulled to the back. Then I very historically zip-tied it in place. Although, wigs are no spring chicken in history. That ribbon I prepared earlier is up next to contain this flowing, improper mane. And I sewed it in place. I don't like worrying if things are still where they should be while at a photo shoot or at a convention.
Now, something was missing with the hairstyle. Something I did not know the name of, still don't know the name of, but I knew for sure I would find this thing at the dollar store. And if I didn't find it at the dollar store, well, I'll for sure find it at the Asian dollar store. They have everything under the sun in that building. So I went to both, and I did not find what I was looking for. And that got me thinking, When is the last time I saw anybody wearing this in their hair? And I think the answer is the 2000s. The passage of time truly is a mystery to me.
So, I'll just make it myself, starting with some buckram and some circles. Some Gutermann fabric glue on that awful faux leather. This held up and hasn't peeled yet, so it's in the clear for now. And oh, sweet Jesus, she's using the mallet. I really do get past tense fear of my neighbors when I see footage like this. And yes, the stick is a chopstick. Shut up. Now, I did say there was only one big thing left. There's still a few small things. The earrings I purchased from a seller on Etsy called Master Arc, since I wanted something similar to these. The rest of the bronze stuff I'd be stringing together myself. With a touch of purple, of course.
That's it. That's where the footage ends. I'm really sorry. Isn't that fantastic? Listen, I'm really trying to get better at that, but past me, ooh, it's bad. Past me was real bad at it. Luckily, I have a little bit of footage from conventions and from stage, and I've got a few pictures. I haven't done a full photo shoot of this yet. Maybe I will this summer. I'm actually not sure yet what my plans are. The passage of time is truly a mystery, as I believe half the year has already gone by. So I know it's something I need to plan, and I keep saying I'm gonna plan it in the summer, and then the summer it's here. But I can also take some footage of her right here in my bedroom because she hangs out on a mannequin in there. Please forgive the creepy mask that I printed to put on her. It's gonna stay there. I kind of like the creepy mask. Of course, you can see all the wear and tear on the belt, and that's just from it existing, honestly. Like, I didn't drop it, I didn't mishandle it, or anything like that. That's just that fashion vinyl for you. Not a fan, not a fan. So, coming up next, I think I'm going to be editing the Sai Nijima video, because I did do a commission of Sai Nijima, so if that is of interest to you, hopefully I'll see you there. I'd also like to thank my Twitch subscribers. Your support is greatly appreciated. As always, love you long time, my big homies. And I will see you during the next stream, of course. And with that said, my friends, thank you so much for coming by. Thank you for watching along. And I will catch you on the flippy.